Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Summer. Today we are going to be doing the perfect haircut for those of you that have hair that is on the thinner side, whether it be because of just natural density you have, whether it be because of chemical damage or breakage, whatever the case may be. I'm going to be showing you guys exactly how to go about cutting hair that is very thin and needs to have some length removed. We're going to keep thickness, show you how to cut the layers, the best way to cut the hair in general. And with that being said, let's get started. So the first thing that you want to do with your thin hair is you want to really assess the hair and take a very good look at it to see exactly where it's the thinnest, how much hair needs to come off to make it look its fullest and the thickest possible, and really communicate with either yourself if you're cutting your own hair or with your client about how much really needs to come off and how much are they willing to remove. So you want to really assess the hair before you get started. So we're going to be cutting up quite a bit today because, again, the goal here is to make this thin hair look as thick and full as possible. So I like to wash the hair and I will dry it and I flat iron it out like this is because I want to really be able to see exactly everything with the hair super straight. It allows me to have the most control, and I opt to do a dry cut. So I come in and I just section it off right at the ear like a standard haircut, and then we start in the back and we'll work our way into the front. And I do this because, again, it allows me to see exactly, like, it's very, very clear how much or how little I need to remove. So I'm just gonna do little sections at a time because I can see this a lot, but sometimes when you go in and you lift up more, you'll be able to see maybe something you didn't before and whatnot. So even if it looks like you don't have to section, just take the sectioning, okay? Let me grab my shears. So even this under part is quite a bit thin, but majority of the length here, it really does need to come right about in there because, again, we just have such a separation and gap. So if we only were to come up this high, you can still see right in here this hole. So we're going to be bringing it up, but the good news is we're right on the shoulder. You're still going to be able to get the hair, you know, pulled back into a low ponytail. You still have plenty of options styling wise. So all we're doing is just blending in to that shortest piece. And you can opt to cut wet, but I think you can really see the hair when it's dry like this and make sure that you're cutting everything that needs to be cut. And then if you're somebody who you're like, I don't want to part with my length, but like it looks rough like this, I promise you, as sad as it is to see the length go, you're gonna immediately feel so much better because your hair's gonna look better. So your hair's gonna look better, you're gonna feel better, and it almost will be like a weight being lifted off of your shoulders. Or I should say, like, put back on in this case, because we are going from thin and fine to thick and full with our cut today. So yeah, even this very top layer, you can see how thin it got. And then once you have your back cut, you're just gonna check it. I always have a little bit left on this side because of the way I angle my body for the camera. So now that we have that, it already looks night and day different. But we need to come in here. It's a little hard to see because the hair is dark, but we do have a lot of breakage through here. So I want to try to blend that in as much as possible while still maintaining the weight and thickness. Now, I can tell here through some of the ends, it's really still thin. So with it bulked together, it looks nice, thick, and full, but we still want to be careful that we don't essentially jeopardize any of this weight line here. So any layer we're going to be doing here to kind of blend in where some of these pieces, you know, are shorter because the thing, when hair gets thinned out, so this is more so, it could be for even if it's just naturally thin, but let's say specifically in the case of breakage or chemical damage, a lot of times you're gonna have internal hair that is broken. And a lot of times those pieces still need to be cut. So you do wanna find a way to be able to get in there and lightly point cut to sort of blend. Like here, the hair is so much more thin compared to up in here. So we still wanna try to nip it some, because what happens is if you don't touch those pieces, as the hair grows out, they're gonna continue to look a little thin and sparse. So you wanna just be careful with how you create that though. Again, this is our perimeter. We don't wanna jeopardize that, so we're just gonna be lightly focusing on these top pieces. So I have a shorter layer right here, and I need to even out all of that length that's left here. So if I come in, we can see the difference here. It's not much, but we want it to flow and look even. So that way, if you wear the hair curled and stuff, it matches, and it needs to be cut. So we're basically coming in, all that perimeter is left out, and we're just gonna lightly cut into this, and I'm just gonna opt to softly point cut it. So there's still a little bit of texture, and it's not too blunt. You can see where your shorter piece here is from your perimeter, and we're just blending that in. Traditionally, this length of hair and these longer, softer layers that we're creating today is your best bet for hair that's on that thinner or even fine side that you want it to look thick and full, but you still want the option of wearing it like waved or curled. You want to be able to get it back. This is about your sweet spot length. Because it's not too long, you still maintain that thickness that you need through the hair. Because really sometimes, I mean, I'm not saying you can't do it, but the longer the hair gets, especially in finer or thinner hair types, the more it just looks sort of weighed down, because you just don't have the weight there to keep it looking full. I have just a little bit right here. I'm gonna check that one corner. I need to make sure her nose is level with the shoulders. Just a little bit right here. Much, much better. So if we were to cut into this more and layer too much through this perimeter, you would be right back to where you started with it looking too thin, because it's so hard to see with how dark her hair is. But I can tell up close, it's a little see-through right in here. So if you cut into that too much, you would be collapsing that weight line, which would remove how thick and full we want it to look. So if we come in here now and we take a look at our layer, it blends in a lot more. A little bit right there poking out. So now we're gonna move into the sides. Now, normally the back is always the easiest part because people just have traditionally more hair in the back of the head, just the way you have all this space, you know, after your ear here, where the sides, you have such a smaller section. And they just typically are just never as thick, you know? I don't think I've ever cut somebody's hair that I was like, oh wow, your sides are so much thicker than your back. So we can just follow our line here. And the hardest part with this is we are gonna create a soft face frame and layer, I mean just minimal, but it's much more, you need to do it with a lot more caution through the sides, because again, A lot of times people, we have this recession area. So again, I'm gonna show you guys, you bring this up, it gets much more thin and sparse here. There's just way less hair. We have a little bit of a hole here where when we leave this down, that is what is creating our weight line. So this has to be cut with very, very serious caution, because if you cut into it too much, it's gone, it's done. They have to grow it back out. And in a case like this, it's like, well, I came here to get my hair cut to look thicker and fuller, and now it looks, you know, worse. So you really need to be careful. So we're just gonna follow our line here. I'm actually not gonna section it off because there is less hair. I can clearly see where we're gonna be blending it in. And we're just coming down and we're just right at that shoulder line. And we're gonna come and do it the same on the other side. All right, so now that we have both of our sides cut, it's looking great from a side view and obviously from the back side. You still have a little bit here and there. You know, like this bothers me, but it's fine. Nobody would notice it unless you're like a neurotic psychopath like myself. But we have a very nice thick and full line and the side looks good. When we look at it straight on from the front, we can see it has a lot less density in the hair here. And again, this is for somebody who wants to make sure that their fine, thin hair looks as full as possible. So face frame here is going to be all subjective on what somebody is okay with, what someone is not okay with. Now I will say mannequin hairlines tend to come, you know, more forward than a human hairline. Like this recession is typically a little bit farther back. It's not so like quite in front of the head. So creating a face frame on a human is a little bit more intense and obvious as far as where it gets thin. But we want to maintain thick and fullness, but we do need to cut some in here. But if we come back to where is the bulk of this thickness coming from? It's coming from this whole top section. You can see the gap here of where that hair completely has either no hair from the recession or breakage. So I know that this is my spot here that I need to maintain some sort of thickness or length to it to cover that gap, because otherwise if you cut too far into it, you're creating a hole, and then that's just making that piece look more fine and thin, especially if they want, you know, a longer face frame and to maintain maximum amount of thickness. And then if we compare that to the other side, this side is a little more thin, but you have the same idea going on where you just get a lot less hair. So what I like to do is I will, because I know that's sort of my very important part, I'm gonna come right behind this front section, and I'm gonna first just clip this out of the way so I don't touch it to start my face frame. So this weight that I need here is not jeopardized yet, and we're just gonna start off with a face frame first, just right in these ends to give a little shape through the front, but we're gonna maintain that thickness, and I'm gonna do the same on the other side. So all we're gonna be doing is just skimming this outer edge right here, a very soft face frame to break it up a little bit, because I'm gonna do this under the thought too that these pieces maybe look more scraggly on a real person and they need to kind of come off, because the problem is sometimes if you have, especially if it's breakage and you don't get the pieces that are like barely hanging on, it just makes the haircut look incomplete. if that makes any sense. So I like coming across the face. My length is down here. And we're just gonna glide this outer edge. Very, very minimal. And sometimes I'll just kind of freehand it too, because the hair is so fine here, I can really see it. And again, that's also because we went in and we really flat ironed the hair out, so you can see it completely stick straight. And now we're just gonna match it up on that other side. So I'm gonna comb this down, and I'm just gonna follow that line. So I have my shortest piece is right in here, and then I'm just gonna follow it on the other side. And again, we're just skimming the very outer edge. Got like 2 hairs there. Oop, I think I blocked you with my hair, I'm sorry. All right, so now we're letting down our top pieces, and we're gonna see where we need to blend those in, again, because this is what the bulk of our weight, that's the bulk of the weight in the front. And it's just the very, very bottom. It's gonna be this corner right here. And you want to always start at the longest piece and work your way up, so that way you maintain the length and the thickness. So as minimal as that is, it still does, from a light side view, offer up just a little bit of movement through here. So this is your shorter piece, it's coming back, and it allows us to remove some of that old dead hair, but still maintaining some thickness. So now what I'm going to do is not create necessarily the layers, but just blend in any hair that needs that trim, because again, like I said, the hair can get uneven, whether it's due to breakage or just being thin, chemical damage. But I am leaving out this hair here because it's the thickness that we want to maintain through that front, and we're just doing the back, kind of like the corner. So we're behind the ear and angled up. And we're just gonna come straight up with it. And we're just gonna blend in these pieces, and I still like to cut them at just like an angle going forward to blend with the length and maintain the weight that we need through the sides. We have just a little bit here. So I angle up, and we're just blending into this. And I'm not trying to cut any crazy hard blunt lines, which a lot of people would think is like, don't you want to create the blunt lines? If there's a lot of broken pieces throughout the hair and it's fine and thin in general, sometimes the blunt does not work except for at the perimeter, because it sort of throws everything off balance. Because if you do have some breakage that's still underneath and then you're cutting these blunt layers on top of it, it doesn't always flow correctly. So we're coming up at an angle and just lightly blending into that. So we still are gonna get some movement, but everything looks so much more thick and full. And then I'm just gonna lightly take this front hair here. And we're gonna come all the way across the face and just lightly nip this hair to add just a touch more shape. Sometimes even the most minor amount of hair that you cut off can make the biggest difference as far as creating shape, even in like the thinnest or finest circumstances. But when you over direct so far, you do maintain typically your weight line a lot more. So that's why you want to over direct. So this is what it looks like, super straight, as you can see. And I am gonna like wet her down again and do like a full volume blow dry, but I do want to see you guys, let you guys see it completely stick straight if somebody were to wear it that way. So we've cleaned it up a lot. The sides in the front with everything pushed forward look so much better. You have a little bit of sparsity still here, but it's a great starting point without like, you know, removing so much length. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get her like a nice full volume blow dry so you can see what it looks like both straight and with some body and bend. All right, guys, here is what the hair looks like after a nice, full, voluminous, bouncy blow dry. So you get to see it both ways of it being stick straight like it was when we cut it versus if you wanted to style it a different way. So it's a very versatile cut, but we maintain thickness. That does not change regardless of the blow dry. You can also curl this hair if you wanted to as well. So we still have lots of versatility with it, but we got rid of all those frail thin ends and it looks like a totally different head of hair. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's tutorial. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you did, and I will leave you with this video right here to check out next. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.